Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at a Haggerty 10. I had some issues yesterday with the microphone, but we're back today. My apologies for that. But I'm joined today with someone I've not been joined with for a while. Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. Young Aidan, how are you? It's been a while.
It has, Tony. It's been a while since you and I have been on a podcast, hasn't it? I think it's over 2 weeks, so I'm sure you've enjoyed the break from me, Tony.
No,
But no, it was also
not in the
good to be back
slightest.
on with Ryan yesterday, and it's good to be back on this morning with you as well.
Well, we had a happy Monday, Aidan. Terrific Tuesday. The feel good factor is just going to go into a wonderful Wednesday. So glad to have you with us, my good friend. And before we do anything, as we always do every day, we ask you to subscribe to the website and help support top quality football journalism, covering the club you love. Myself, Ryan McGinley, and Aidan endeavour to provide that, and others, Alan Morrison, Duke James, Stuart Ross. You know, you know the drill, but we ask you to hit that subscribe button, guys, at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Current deal is £4 for 4 months of access to everything that's written on the website. Something there for everybody, Aidan, isn't there?
Yeah, of course, where your bag's opinion, tactics, match analysis, which also I know you've been enjoying doing, Tony, yourself and Ryan, which is a new thing that we'd obviously started for this season. So, yeah, no, get yourself involved, guys, if you haven't already.
Now, you've probably spoken all of this to Ryan yesterday, Aidan, but having not seen you for a while, a lot's happened, so just do a myriad of topics. But guys, I also want your thoughts. I want a Q&A today. You're going to take part, ask myself and Aidan some questions, so get them coming in to the chat section. And if you haven't already, Aidan, get them to download the new app, the new Celtic Way app on your phone. Wonderful piece of kit that. It's excellent. We're all app crazy. We like it, don't we, Aidan? The new Celtic Way app. Just go into your app store and download it. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's really slick, and that's obviously another thing that's kind of brand new for the season. Hopefully, try to take the content, making it a wee bit more streamlined and a wee bit more accessible. So, yeah, guys, of course, get yourself involved in that and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, because as well as subscribing to the website, you know, any sort of interaction we get in the YouTube, that all helps in terms of being able to do videos like this Monday to Friday. Tony, who's obviously been doing the top 5 Celtic moments that made me, Ryan's, data analysis videos and all that sort of stuff, as well as match reaction of the weekend. We really appreciate anybody that's able to sort of commit in any sort of way, whether that's to the website or even subscribing to the YouTube channel. So yeah, guys, get yourself involved in that. And as Tony mentioned, the app, if you haven't already.
Now, good morning, everybody. Aidan, have you stopped smiling from Ibrox yet? But I look at your face and you clearly haven't. So, skin graft would not get the grin off your Chevy Chase, as they would say, or mine for that matter. Sometimes I need to tell my face that, but trying to conduct it with some air of professionalism, as you do. But you must have been delighted about Sunday performance, just everything about it. Apologies if you've spoken all this to Ryan, but I've not heard your opinion. What was your takeaway from it, or your standouts? I think you had Kyogo as your man of the match, didn't you? When did you do ratings? And you picked Kyogo. You gave Kyogo a 9. So I was just interested to pick your brain on that one. Not saying it's wrong, but all about opinions, isn't it? So there you go.
Yeah, I obviously was kind of like going back and forth on who I would have as man of the match. So for the ratings, as you say, I had, sorry, Matt O'Reilly and Callum McGregor both as 8s, and near the end I still had Kyogo as an 8. But given it was obviously a Celtic victory at Ibrox, there has to be one standout player. I think most people would agree, even if you don't agree on who the player should be. Definitely there should be somebody who's probably maybe just above everybody else in terms of a rating. And I went for Kyogo, but I was teetering between him, Callum McGregor, and Matt O'Reilly, Tony, on who was maybe going to get a 9. And just the fact that Kyogo got that goal, which I understand is maybe a wee bit biased because William Scales as well also played really well. The only reason I didn't give him a higher mark, I think I gave him a 7, was purely just because I thought he was a wee bit shaky in the first half at
Okay.
times. Not terribly, and it was only like the first maybe 10, 15 minutes. After that, he came really into it. Whereas I kind of thought like McGregor O'Reilly, and I know he did miss a couple other chances, but Kyogo were kind of pretty solid the whole time they were on the park. So otherwise, maybe even Liam Scales would have been up there in contention. But I also understood why he got the sort of broadcasters player of the match. But yeah, I had Kyogo, Tony. I just thought it was a brilliant finish and one of maybe Kyogo's best finishes. It was just amazing, and it would have been very, very easy for him to try and, as that ball was coming down or bouncing up, try and take it forward on his head to maybe give himself a wee bit more time, because he knows he's got plenty of pace and he's quicker than the two centre backs. But at the same time, if he miscontrols that of his head or tries to take any sort of touch, there's no guarantee it's going to be the perfect touch, and then the ball could have got away. So the instinct for it to just, whatever, it bounced once or twice and then just volley it and past Butland too, he's had a pretty good start to the season as well, and we've seen later on that he made a good save from a bad. I passed a decent goalkeeper. It was phenomenal, Tony. It was a brilliant finish. One of the sort of maybe, all right, I understand people have probably seen a lot more goals against Rangers than I have, and I know there's maybe a lot more famous ones, but definitely over the last few years anyway, I thought it was one of the best goals against Rangers because the finish was absolutely phenomenal. To thunder that in, and then the way it sort of just hit the net, it was just silence, was very satisfying, Tony. It reminded me a wee bit of, in terms of just the reaction to the goal, Callum McGregor's in this 2017 Scottish Cup semi-final, the one when Dembele sort of flicks it to him and passes it in at the corner, and that for whatever reason there's just like a moment of silence before you obviously hear the Celtic fans erupt, and the way it just hits the net, that's what it reminded me of for a minute, which maybe made me love the goal even more, because that's one of my favourite ever goals against Rangers, McGregor's one. But yeah, Kyogo was a standout for me, Tony, not just for his goal, his pressing, that helps Celtic get up the park at times when they're maybe struggling a wee bit. And yes, he probably should have scored at least one of his two other chances, but I think he made up for that by getting what will prove to ultimately be the winning goal.
That was a belter of a goal. It's a world-class finish. I said before, he scored 3 goals this season and he's took 4 touches of the ball, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know. He is Brendan Rodgers calling him an elite level striker, and there's no reason to doubt the manager. And again, Aidan, I'll go back to, if you'd have been listening all week, I told you Brendan Rodgers is an elite level manager. This is where he would come into his own. And so I even wrote about it today in the comment section. There it is on the website about how Brendan Rodgers was speaking about Death Watch, but if you ever doubt him, he ends up putting egg on your face. And I knew he would come into his own and he'd have been working on a game plan, and that's certainly what happened, Aidan. And now Celtic 4 points ahead going into international break. So the question is this the one that can kickstart Celtic's season? And also, can they kick on from here and improve and get better? And I'm talking about not just domestically, but when the Champions League rolls around as well. And myself and Ryan said that win was the kind of the start of the Brendan Rodgers era has commenced, Aidan. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Now that's you've 2 of your hardest away grounds you've visited. You've come away with 6 points. Yeah, it could be better. The 2 spilt points against St Johnstone, people will argue the toss over that, but I think if you go to Ibrox and Pittodrie, 2 of your first 4 games of the season and you come away with 6 points, yeah, I think you're doing all right, aren't you? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think in terms of the league, it's been a fine start to the season. Yeah, the draw with St Johnstone was frustrating, but that's going to happen. I think the real sort of annoyance is that that result with Kilmarnock, Tony. I don't want to go back to it too much. I know we've covered it in detail, you and Ryan have, but I think that's probably the one that's still going to be annoying people and probably will for some time. But yeah, in terms of the league, it's been a decent enough start, and obviously getting that victory at Ibrox is perfect. We should say, Tony, and I only know this because I was personally pulled up for it yesterday. You won't be surprised to know that we're 4 points clear of Rangers, but not 4 points clear at the top of the league, because Celtic and Motherwell both have 10 points. Celtic are 2 goals ahead, I believe, in goal difference. So I know you would have known that, Tony, but I just wanted to clarify it because I was had a few comments yesterday about it. So yeah,
no, but I think you have to big up Motherwell and say they've had an excellent start to the season. Kettlewell
Absolutely
doing
brilliant result against Hearts in the last game.
doing wonderful things at Fir Park, so you have to applaud that and see how long they can stay the course and distance. But they've had a wonderful start and they'll gain every confidence from that. But yeah, Celtic are 4 points clear of their city rivals. We'll clarify that. And joint top of the league with Motherwell, Celtic ahead on 2 goals, as Aidan says there. And one of those goals was Kyogo's at Ibrox, which was an absolute stormer, a belter, world-class finish. Call it what you like. And being there, Aidan, it was actually quite surreal because it happened so quickly. And the silence, as you say, that greeted it was, it's one of those moments you actually have to kind of look and say, did that actually happen? And you were scrambling to laptops to see if anybody had Sky Sports running as well. And that's what I did. Because I saw Joe Hart kicking the ball. I looked at my laptop and then I looked up and Kyogo was just lashing it into the net. And I'm thinking, how did he get that? And it was explained to me that Golson had headed it and then Matt O'Reilly headed into Kyogo's path. So I saw the actual replay of the whole incident on a computer screen. So, but yeah, it was, and my thoughts, the only thing I said when he hit it, because as I looked up, he was just hitting it. And it hit the back of the net, and I went, "What a goal that is!" And guys around me were like, "Oh yeah, he's took it early, like Pittodrie, one touch to control, early strike, takes the goalkeeper out basically, because the goalkeeper's maybe, as you say, expecting him to do one or two things at Pittodrie's, maybe expecting him to take a touch and then go in on him. He takes it early, just bang, and then, as you say, Ibrox maybe he could have taken it with his head." But he was confident in his own ability that he could lash it. I mean, that's for 20 yards out, and Jack Butland's a very good goalkeeper. And when you actually look at it, Jack Butland's diving as the ball's past him. He kind of dives, but the ball's skidded right past him. And it's a brilliant effort. It's a clinical finish from a striker who knows where the goals is. That's 57 career goals and rising, Aidan. And I think there was lots of comparisons yesterday. Wasn't there with Henrik Larsson? There was some statistics doing the rounds with Henrik Larsson, and people will always say he's the best since Larsson. Up to the individual about that, isn't it? To see, but anything else? I mean, Liam Scales got you say the man of the match. Were you impressed with him? You said that. I agree with you. I thought he was a wee bit shaky as well, and came onto a game and by hook or by crook, the two of them kind of muddled through and got there in the end. So kept a clean sheet, but. Against Dundee, will project forward into Dundee. Do you see that same central defensive pairing playing, or do you think Nat Phillips will come in, or do you think? Because I fully expect Celtic to have a rip at Dundee now, and it wouldn't surprise me if I'll use the good old fashioned Inverness Clacknacudden was administered by Celtic to Dundee, because I think they've got the bit between the teeth now, and the next game can't come quick enough.
Yeah, I think obviously Liam Scales was exceptional in that game. He's obviously had 2 very good games against Rangers for 2 clubs now, Tony, after his goal last season, and then the recent performance. But I think I would expect, assuming he's fit, Nat Phillips to come in against Dundee and play alongside Lagerbielke, who I know did struggle a wee bit against Rangers. Thought he had some okay moments as well, but of course, even without the sort of goal that ended up being disallowed, some of his play was quite sloppy. But I think they too will be the centre back pairing for the game against Dundee, Tony, because Phillips was brought in an emergency loan, as far as we understand it, to fulfil Champions League requirements until Cameron Carter-Vickers and or Mike Nawrocki are both back. So
Yeah,
it'd be a bit weird if he's fit and available and then he doesn't play against Feyenoord. And the best way for him to try and get prepped is to hopefully get at least 70, 80, maybe even a full game against Dundee. Obviously, we'll near the time we'll get more confirmation on that from Brendan Rodgers, I'm sure. But yeah, I think Nat Phillips will come in. But at Liam Scales, I would expect him to be an option off the bench for probably a good chunk of this season now, Tony. When everybody comes back, fair enough, we'll have to reevaluate it. But for now, anyway, I would still expect him to be in and around the squad.
And if you like your analysis, Alan Morrison, wonderful Alan Morrison, I put a link up to his. It's on the website, Celtic Way. So is it Celtic defending or attacking that won it? He was saying with Celtic's defending in the Glasgow Derby the key factor. So you can have a read at that. Always worth a read. The excellent Alan Morrison. Hope you're well, Alan. Hope you're tuning in and watching. But yeah, he always does us a turn on these kind of things, and it's always an exciting read, isn't it? Interesting read, Aidan. But yeah, there you go. Now, Aidan, I want to get your thoughts on the Champions League draw. I haven't heard your thoughts on that. What was your initial thoughts when you saw the draw?
My initial thoughts were it could have been a lot worse, Tony.
Dodged a bullet.
But then, of course, when you look into it, despite it maybe not being a Real Madrid or a Man City, the teams are all still very good. Feyenoord, champions of Holland last year, more than deserve their place as first team in that pot. You know, they won the league ahead of Ajax and PSV. PSV, who obviously, you know, soundly defeated Rangers, Ajax. We know what they've been able to do over the years. So the fact they won the league ahead of both of those teams, very impressive achievement. Obviously, their coach was somebody who was getting tapped up from Spurs. Apparently, at one point, is it Arne Slot? I think you call him.
Arne Slot, Arne Slot, yeah.
I think he reportedly did reject him, and obviously we know a guy who we might know ended up getting the Spurs job, Tony. But I think in terms of Feyenoord, they probably would be the pot one team you would want, but also can't take them lightly because I'm sure they'll be a very good side. In terms of pot two, yeah, Atletico Madrid, that is a sort of probably standout name in the group. They'll be really hard, big names. Griezmann and Simeone, I think coming to Parkhead will be interesting for a lot of people. Obviously, we know the fact that he's usually probably the most defensive manager in world football. Anybody that's seen their games over recent years against Man City, etc., would be able to attest to that. But very successful during his time at Atletico Madrid. He also had that spell, 2 Champions League finals. I think he's won the league twice, which winning it ahead of Barcelona and Real Madrid is always a massive achievement. I think he's won the Copa del Rey during that spell in the Spanish Super Cup as well, sorry. But that's probably the standout name in the group, Tony, and probably who you'd more look at as a pot one type team.
Yep.
Lazio were probably once again maybe one of the teams you would have wanted from pot 3, but saying that, pot 3, sorry. I thought it was pot 4, but I don't know, Celtic's pot 4. But if you look at that, they recently just beat Napoli 2-1, who are obviously the champions of Italy, so they're no slouches either. They did sell, I think, probably their best player in Milinkovic-Savic to Saudi Arabia over the summer. But, you know, they've still got Immobile, they've still got plenty of talented players. So it'll be a tough group, Tony, but maybe a wee bit like last season, and I know it didn't quite pan out this way. I think Celtic can hopefully do something in it, whether that is third place or maybe even potentially second. I think it's a group that they can compete in, which is what you want. But also, despite it maybe not having any, you know, top tier glamour names, some would say Atletico Madrid fall into that, but, you know, not like a team that's maybe won the Champions League in recent years, which it felt like Celtic seemed to get every single year, whether it was the team that had just won it or had won it in the last few years. Even though you maybe don't have a team like that, you still can't underestimate anybody you're coming up against.
Yeah, I'm still looking for Celtic to kick on and be fiercely competitive at home in all those fixtures, Aidan, and the chips fall where they may in the away games. But in terms of kicking on, yeah, I think Celtic have to and need to do better than the 2 points they got from 18 in the 6 group games last season, and your home form could be key, as you say, to finishing third or second in that group if you can get some home form strung together, both domestically and take that into the European scene. I think that's what you're hoping for. Celtic can kick on now and go on that kind of run of winning games. Now, looking at kicking on, Thomas Gallagher asked a question: does Brendan Rodgers change his team for Dundee after Celtic's fantastic display against Rangers at Ibrox on Sunday? You making changes there, Aidan? What you thinking?
Well, right now, obviously assuming that everybody that goes away for international duty comes back okay, Tony, which is another concern. If everybody comes back all right and there's no fresh injuries, and also hopefully Hatate's going to be available based off the timeline that Rodgers provided a few weeks ago. He's going to be available. Hopefully Nat Phillips will be available. Bernardo will be available. I would maybe start Nat Phillips, as I was saying earlier, over Liam Scales, and I would potentially maybe start Luis Palma over Abada, just because I'd like to see both of them involved against Feyenoord, and the best way for that to be the case is for them to get some minutes in their legs ahead of ahead of that game, which was also against Dundee. I think outside of that, I'd be relatively happy if the team stayed the way it was. People might be thinking, even though Maida was phenomenal against Rangers, and probably he'll be somebody that will definitely be involved against Feyenoord, maybe Dundee game's a game for Yang to come in. So that's probably up for debate. But I would like to see at least Palmer and Phillips involved. But outside of that, Tony, I think I'd be keeping the team the same.
Yep, I wouldn't disagree with what you've said there. I want to see the new boys come in and play some part against Dundee. Palmer to start, possibly Yang to start, might be the shout, and Nat Phillips. It's Hazel Finn, so would you play Liam Scales at left back, especially in the Champions League? It's a consideration, isn't it? I don't think he's done himself any harm with his display at Ibrox, and I think he said himself he wants to give the manager some food for thought. I think he's certainly done that. I think Brendan Rodgers knows now that he can rely on Scales if ever he needs him. And yeah, people saying that ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. But I think just why would you bring in Nat Phillips if you weren't going to play him? So I think Scales probably would make way against Dundee. I think that's a good game to introduce some new players to the fray if you're going to do that, i.e. the likes of Palmer and Phillips, possibly Bernardo as well. Because I have to say, I like the look of the old Thiago Home when he came on at Ibrox too, Aidan. So these guys could come into the manager's reckoning, and also hopefully if you get like Hatate back fit, that's what I mean by kicking on. There's some good news around the corner for Celtic, isn't there? You're getting players back, you're getting the new guys integrated into the system. You've got that international break to do that, and then you can now regroup and just really knuckle down and put on the afterburners, as they say, Aidan, and hopefully some winning form domestically can set you up for a rip at the Champions League, and you've got to embrace that when it comes along. It's coming along soon. Can't wait for that, Aidan. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens, Tony. I think just when you were going through the players there, maybe another position that might be changing. Turnbull maybe dropping out. I thought he did struggle a wee bit against Rangers.
Yeah.
Not a terrible performance or anything. Nothing that, of course, it didn't cost you a goal because he kept a clean sheet. Didn't cost you the game or anything, but I did think he did struggle at times. Just because it wasn't really a game that you were going to have a lot of time on the ball and have the luxury of maybe being able to take a few extra touches. It was pretty sort of frantic as these ties usually are, but he'd maybe drop out for. There's plenty of options. Could it be Matt O'Reilly goes further forward and Odin Thiago Home drops into that sort of double pivot with McGregor, or does Bernardo come in and get a start? Also, we're a wee bit unsure on his fitness. He might not be quite ready to start games at the moment, but I think some sort of combination that maybe involves Turnbull being on the bench as well for me would be another change. Just I've seen a few people talking about it in the comments, so I wanted to just chuck that in.
Yeah, well, I did say all week that the manager was working on a game plan, Aidan, and John Hill comes in and says just as well, he's not the Celtic manager because he didn't think the team was good enough. Just leave it to the master tactician that is Brendan Rodgers. Indeed, and Sons of Scotland came in and says, Tony, I'm sure they listened to your speeches in the run-up because they certainly calmed him down. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Well, it's not, I'm not being wise after the event. I did kind of tell people, have they actually studied Rangers and watched Rangers? I felt that they could be got at, and I felt that the manager had the players to do that. Yeah, they were depleted, but again, I've written it. If you read the article that's on the website today, I kind of outlined why he is a shrewd tactician. He's been there, seen it, done it. There's an air of calmness about him, and I think that transmitted to the players. And it's no surprise that Matt O'Reilly and Callum McGregor played their best games of the season so far. Dyson Meader was deployed in that role. Selfless performance for the team. Kyogo just does what he does best. And he got a man of the match performance from Liam Scales because they told them he knew how to win and he would transmit that onto the players and they'll know how to win. Told them that on Friday. That was I was connecting dots and thinking that was him saying, don't write us off, regardless. And then when that team came out, I think a lot of Celtic supporters maybe wrote Celtic off. I didn't, and the manager certainly didn't. And turns out that the manager knew what he was doing all along, Aidan. Who'd have thunk it, eh? Who'd have thunk that a man, an elite level manager like Brendan Rodgers knew what he was doing? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. But hey, I've written about it on the website today. Have a look at that. Alan Morrison's also written a kind of more analytical piece, so you can enjoy those guys. But yeah, I just think it was the perfect pick-me-up that Celtic needed after 2 games of drawing a blank, and I now think they will improve from here and gain that confidence that that's the start of whatever Brendan Rodgers was bringing in and implementing. It's starting to kick in and it's starting to work. Because I thought that Callum McGregor, Matt O'Reilly, and Odin Thiago Holm, when he came on, they all had the freedom of Ibrox. Regardless of whoever was on them or meant to mark in them, they still found space. And when they found space and sprayed the ball about, Celtic played the better football in the football moments that were played in the game. And undoubtedly, if you go and watch it back, the better football came from Celtic, the better chances came from Celtic. Could have won by more, but that's just nitpicking and being greedy. But yeah, I thought it was a highly professional, clinical performance and a well-drilled, disciplined, organised performance, which I thought the manager had been working on since the 0-0 draw at St Johnstone. I signposted that and told people. Turns out it was right.
Yeah, I think it was a good performance from Celtic. As Rodgers said himself, there's plenty more gears to go up, which I was glad to hear, because even though it was also a brilliant result, it was a kind of different game than you'll probably face the majority of times in Scotland, because you were having to be on the back foot a wee bit more. There was a bit more space in behind, because at times Rangers were obviously going for it and trying to score. I think there's probably still some questions to be asked in terms of his style when it comes to breaking down a low block, which will probably be answered hopefully in the Dundee game, Tony. But yeah, it was also a really, really positive result, and as you say, the title of this video, fingers crossed Celtic can kick on from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the one that gave the supporters the most joy so far this season, that it's beginning to sink in the kind of what Brendan wants, and just the way they played and the way they approached it. I mean, lots of Celtic fans, were saying that the team were travelling to Govan with trepidation. I wasn't travelling with trepidation. I never. People saying we'll take a point now. Nah, you're always going to Ibrox to try and win. And it was the way they won and the circumstances that they won under Aidan. And I think that dressing room they've got an elite level manager who's a winner, and also players who are winners. They're serial winners. They just know how to win, and they know how to turn up and perform on those kind of stages and in those kind of matches. And I think that's why they will now just, whatever lethargy they had at the start of the season against Kilmarnock and St Johnstone, I think they've shaken it off now, and they will knuckle down. Get to work, as Brendan said at the start. I think that's them getting to work now, and it certainly worked on Sunday. And it's how I thought the game would play out in my head before they went. Even looking at the team line, I still thought these guys are capable of stepping up to the plate, and I think they did. And yeah, it will be interesting to see his lineup for Dundee, but I think it is ripe to make some changes, isn't it, and freshen it up whilst and having had the time to work with some of the new guys, and just say to them, this is what you'll be playing against every other week. This is your arena, your surroundings. Get used to it. Francis P.C. Green, Brendan's making his mark again. He most certainly is. But yeah, I think there was reservations about Ibrox Aidan, but I think the Celtic supporters, they're not questioning it now, aren't they? No reservations now. Hey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's definitely probably bought Rodgers a bit more time after, obviously, he was under a wee bit of pressure after Kilmarnock and St Johnstone, which I think was fair enough, because those were 2 really poor performances. But yeah, fans are obviously pretty on side, I would say, with the manager at the moment. Still a lot of work to do. I think there is still tactical questions to be asked,
don't disagree.
From my point of view anyway. And the Champions League, obviously, after that draw, I think there's probably a bit more expectation than there was a few weeks ago. But aye, it'll be interesting, Tony, to see what happens between now and the end of the season.
Excellent. Now, I believe, young Aidan, you've got stuff to do and people to see and places to go, haven't you? So, as a half an hour, a short one today, we'll be back tomorrow with myself and young Ryan. Yeah, he's taking a break today from podcast duty. But yes, Aidan, I've enjoyed that, Aidan. Enjoyed being in your company again. It's been a while, too long, in fact. But hey, there you go. But I can see you're still smiling. The majority of the Celtic supporters are still smiling. And yeah, and we urge you to download the app whenever you can. You'll get it on the App Store. And as we say every time we're on here, we ask you to subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality football journalism covering the club you love. It's all for a click of a button. It's £4 for 4 months of access to everything that's written on the website. And you visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. A short but very sweet one today, Aidan. Thanks for your time. Appreciate that. Take care, and we shall see you tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.